1 week in Poland. News, comments, events, everything you need to know about the country you live in. Hello everybody, welcome to a new episode of 1 Week in Poland, the information service made in IMI Radio, broadcasted in a live stream every Saturday at 1 p.m. 1 Week in Poland is the broadcast which brings you through the most important news of the last 7 days. My name is Fabio Turco. I am an Italian journalist living and working in Warsaw for almost a decade. And for the people who listen this show for the first time, a couple of words about the format, how it works. The first part of the show is dedicated to the general news of the week, what's happened in Poland in the last 7 days. I do it through an accurate selection from the main media outlets, for example, Polish radio, Polish press agency, or notes from Poland. In the second part of 1 Week in Poland, I will be more focused on the news about the capital city, and I will give you some advices how you can enjoy your weekend. So, this was the usual introduction to the broadcast. Now I want to start. I can't not start from the news of the week. You know, we are IMI Radio. We are especially focused on migration, and the news of the week regards migrants. Poland's government, and I'm reading the article from Notes from Poland written by Daniel Thiels, Poland's government has approved plans for a tough new migration strategy that will include the possibility to temporarily suspend the acceptance of asylum claims if immigrants threaten to destabilize the state. That latter idea has aroused controversy since being announced by Prime Minister Donald Tusk on past Saturday. Many experts have warned that denying the possibility of asylum would violate both international law and Poland's own constitution. On Tuesday evening, Donald Tusk announced that his cabinet has approved the strategy, which is titled Regaining Control, Ensuring Security, a comprehensive and responsible migration strategy for Poland for the years 2025-2030. The strategy was adopted with dissenting opinions from the 4 government ministers who come from the left, Lewica, which is a junior partner in the ruling coalition, alongside Tusk-centric Civic Platform and the center-right Third Way, Trzecia Droga. The government announcement notes that in recent years, Poland has changed status from a country of emigration to a country of immigration, with around 2.5 million foreigners currently in Poland, with the intention of staying long term. Under the rule of the former Law and Justice conservative government from 2015 to 2023, Poland issued more first residence permits to immigrants from outside the European Union than any other member state for 7 years running. But in its announcement, the current government says that this unprecedented level of immigration happened without any comprehensive strategy in place. It wants to address this with a policy that makes state security the priority when it comes to the issue of migration. The outline then mentions 7 planned areas of state intervention, and now I will go to enumerate them: access to territory, access to national and international protection, conditions of access to the labor market, educational migration, integration, citizenship, repatriation, and the Polish diaspora. Most controversially, it will seek to change asylum procedures so that they cannot be used in hybrid activities, while at the same time taking into account the humanitarian dimension of the situation on the Polish borders. That is a reference to the crisis on the border with Belarus, where since 2021, tens of thousands of migrants and refugees, mainly from Africa, Asia, and the Middle East, have tried to cross with the encouragement and assistance of the Belarusian authorities. Both Poland and its European partners have described that crisis as part of a hybrid war being waged against the West by Belarus and its ally Russia. The Polish government's new strategy will make it possible in the event of the threat of destabilization of the state by an influx of immigrants to temporarily and territorially suspend the right to receive asylum applications. The summary does not explain what is meant by territorially, though it is likely to refer to the suspension of such right in a specific area, such as along the border with Belarus and or the border with the Russian exclave of Kaliningrad. Finland earlier this year introduced a similar measure on its border with Russia. Poland cannot allow groups of illegal immigrants organized and controlled by Russia and Belarus to cross our eastern border under the pretext of submitting asylum applications, says the government. But it adds that the relevant laws on suspending asylum rights should take into account a mechanism of parliamentary oversight, vulnerable groups, and the experiences of other countries. Elsewhere, in its summary of the new strategy, the government says that it will introduce a transparent visa policy based on a selective approach to migration, including detailed rules for the entry and stay of foreigners. That is a response to the emergence last year of a scandal in which it is alleged that foilings and corruption in the visa system under the Law and Justice government allowed potential migrants to pay for expedited procedures and in some cases resulted in them not being properly vetted by the Polish authorities. The newly announced policy will seek to ensure that economic migrants will fill gaps in the labor market and do not create potential new challenges for a stable employment system in Poland, says the government. It will also seek to try to prevent migrants from obtaining work or student visas simply as a means of getting access to the European Schengen area without the genuine intention to work or study. The document sets out plans for the inclusion and integration of immigrants that will ensure that will not have a negative impact on social cohesion in Poland, but that also allows their full potential to be used. The key to this issue is the acceptance by foreigners of the norms and principles in force in Polish society, writes the government. Last week, it was announced that Poland will set up dozens of European Union-funded foreigner integration centers to provide services to immigrants and help them adapt. Finally, the government says that it will support the return of Polish immigrants to the country, something that was also encouraged by the former Law and Justice administration. Although the document has been approved by the majority of the cabinet, it will still require various acts of legislation to be passed by the parliament and signed into law by the president. Here, Tusk may face opposition from the left, without whom his coalition does not have a parliamentary majority. The head of the left parliamentary caucus, Anna Maria Żukowska, said that her group is opposed to suspending asylum rights and would not support any legislation to that effect. However, it is possible that parts of the opposition, made up of the National Conservative Law and Justice and the far-right Confederation, would back such a measure, helping it to pass. But an unexpected opponent to this strategy could be the president, Andrzej Duda. The temporary suspension of access to asylum proposed by the government will not tighten control on the border nor reduce illegal migration, he said. While addressing the same, the lower house of the Polish parliament, Duda claimed that the proposed measure will not serve to seal our border and reduce illegal migration. In turn, it will prevent, among the other refugee representatives of the Belarusian opposition, from taking shelter in Poland. Russian President Vladimir Putin and Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko are trying to destabilize the situation on our border in the European Union, and your response to this is to deny heaven to the people they are putting in prison and persecuting, Duda said. I think this is some kind of terrible mistake. The president said that he was surprised by Tusk's decision and recalled critical opinions of the ruling coalition, then in opposition to the construction of a barrier on the Polish-Belarusian border by the Law and Justice government. You were wrong back then, and I'm afraid to say you are wrong now, he said. Nevertheless, he welcomed the government's decision to proceed with the border security measures implemented by predecessors. Better late than never, Duda concluded. Later, Tusk, in his speech, claimed that the planned regulation will not suspend human rights because it will not suspend the right to seek asylum. We are speaking about rejecting asylum applications by people organized by Lukashenko who illegally crossed the border, he said. Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski told the press that the migration strategy includes so-called vulnerable groups such as mothers with children or the tortured. In the event of a suspension, border guards can accept refugee claims from such persons. And a key role in this matter is played by Europe. Without this approval, Polish government cannot proceed with the implementation of the temporary suspension of right of asylum. The Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk met on Tuesday during the European Council European leaders, and they discussed about this topic. After the meeting, Donald Tusk said that the European leaders expressed understanding regarding his stance on migration. At the meeting participated the leaders of Austria, Hungary, Malta, Slovakia, Greece, Cyprus, Czech Republic, and the others, as well as the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. Polish Prime Minister told the reporters that he had a meeting with all the major players and he achieved what he aimed for, which is mainly understanding. It is not about a complete halt to the right to asylum, but rather about a temporary territorial suspension of accepting application in places where the border is breached illegally by force, that is at the Belarusian border, he said. Everyone here understands that. According to Tusk, no one within the European Union has an issue regarding Poland's right to adopt such measures. Everyone understands how complex the situation is when hostile regimes are involved in human trafficking. He said, I must say that it went easier than I would have anticipated. He added, for me, it was important that there are no negative opinions about our ideas, and there certainly won't be any. So, this was the three main news about this very important topic, speaking about the suspension of right of asylum. The path won't be easy, and certainly there are many doubts about the application, about the ethical application of these procedures, because we have to remember that we are speaking about people, we are speaking about human, and so this is very, very delicate topic. And now we change completely topic. We speak about the trial of Dr. Maria Kubisa, a gynecologist accused of aiding in abortion. The trial has begun at the district court in Szczecin in northwestern Poland. The doctor is the head of the gynecology department at a hospital in Prenzlau in Germany, and also she works in Northwestern Poland. The prosecutor's office has charged the Polish gynecologist with 6 counts of assisting in abortion through the use of abortifacient drugs. The judge has ordered the trial to be closed to the public, although the defense, as attorney Rafał Gawęcki explained in an interview with Polish radio, would prefer the proceedings to be open. The next hearing is scheduled for December 11, during which 3 witnesses will testify. In January 2023, agents from the Central Anti-Corruption Bureau entered Dr. Maria Kubisa's office and confiscated all medical documentation containing sensitive patient data. According to German media, the Polish prosecutor's office is investigating 2 doctors from Brandenburg who assisted patients from Poland in obtaining abortions. A protest was held outside the district court in Szczecin, where the doctor's first trial took place this week. Participants expressed their moral support for the distinguished physician who has helped many Polish women. We are one of the last countries in Europe where such barbarism continues. I have a wife, 2 daughters and granddaughters, and I would like to live to see the time when women can live in a normal country, assured one of men participating in the protest, reported Polish radio. Over 2.5 million people in Poland were living in extreme poverty in 2023, a major rise from 1.7 million the previous year, according to data shared by Polish news portal Wirtualna Polska. This marks the worst level of poverty in the country since 2015. The numbers come from the Poverty Watch 2024, reported by EAPN Poland, the Polish branch of European Anti-Poverty Network. This annual report tracks poverty trends across the country and is based on official statistics from both national and international bodies. According to the report, poverty has increased sharply among children, senior citizens, and people with disabilities. EAPN has defined this situation as Poland at the edge of a social crisis and stated that in 2023, nearly 1 in every 15 Poles lived in extreme poverty, and almost half of the population struggled with various forms of exclusion. Among children, the rate of extreme poverty rose from 5.7% to 7.6%, meaning that over 500,000 children in Poland now live in severe poverty. The situation has also worsened for senior citizens, with the rate climbing from 3.9% to 5.7%, affecting around 430,000 older adults. Households with at least one person with a disability saw an even more significant rise in extreme poverty from 6.7% in 2022 to 9% in 2023. Poland's Institute of Labor and Social Affairs defines extreme poverty as having insufficient resources to meet the basic needs of life, such as housing, food, clothing, and medicine. Living below this threshold puts lives at risk, as individuals are unable to afford even the most basic necessities. In addition to those in extreme poverty, the report highlighted that the number of Poles living below the social minimum, defined as not having enough to participate fully in society, also surged. In 2023, over 17 million people, up from 15.4 million in 2022, were struggling to cover essential costs such as access to the internet, dental care, buying books for their children, or occasional entertainment. Experts from the EAPN Poland cite several factors for the worsening situation, including economic stagnation, rising cost of living, and high inflation, which has been recorded in most European countries. They also criticized the lack of adequate adjustment to social benefits, which have failed to keep pace with rising living costs. Some of the poorest have been left without sufficient state support, the report noted. Now we go to some something positive, finally. The 12th Barrier-Free Culture Festival themed You Can Do Anything is occurring in these days from October 15 to October 20, so till tomorrow, in various cities across Poland. This event is organized by the Foundation for Barrier-Free Culture, the City of Warsaw, and various cultural institutions. It seeks to enhance accessibility and is supported by institutions and organizations nationwide, including 25 cities such as Białystok, Gdańsk, Kraków, and Wrocław. Their aim is to promote the idea that culture is for everyone by implementing solutions for individuals with specific needs and creating opportunities for their participation through measures such as subtitles for performances, audio descriptions, sign language content, and tactile graphics. The Barrier-Free Culture Festival raises awareness about the needs of individuals who are excluded from everyday social and cultural life. Each year, hundreds of institutions across Poland make their events accessible to those with specific needs, featuring a range of activities including theater performances, exhibitions, film screenings, and concerts, all tailored with accessibility measures such as audio description, subtitles, and sign language interpretation. Notably, the National Museum in Warsaw will host quiet hours for visitors with sensory sensitivities, while the Warsaw Museum will engage audiences with workshops on how individuals with disabilities can become volunteers, highlighting a commitment to increased accessibility throughout the festival. So, if you live across the Poland in any city, check the event proposed for the Barrier-Free Culture Festival. For sure, it's worth it. And now we are approaching to the last news of the first part of 1 Week in Poland. As usual, is news about sport. We previously, in the previous week, we spoke about the farewell from the most important tennis player, ranked number one in the ranking, Iga Świątek, to her previous trainer. So now we have the news that a new trainer there is for Iga Świątek. She announced that Belgian coach Wim Fissette is joining her team as her new head coach. Świątek shared the news in a video on Instagram explaining the details of the decision. She expressed her excitement about working with such a renowned specialist who has trained various top players worldwide throughout his career. In an official statement released by her team, it was emphasized that Wim Fissette brings extensive global experience from coaching numerous Grand Slam champions and world number ones, including Kim Clijsters and Naomi Osaka. Świątek's team also confirmed that alongside Fissette, she will continue to be supported by Maciej Ryszczuk, physiotherapist and fitness coach, sparring partner Tomasz Mocek, and physiologist Daria Abramovich as she prepares for WTA finals. So a couple of words about Wim Fissette. He's a 44-year-old Belgian. He worked with 6 different WTA world number ones. He started his career as Kim Clijsters' hitting partner. He describes himself as a coach focused on positive attitudes, fostering team spirit and aligning with the mindset of the athletes he trains, as outlined on his official website. Iga Świątek is scheduled now to compete in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia from November 2nd to November 9th, where she will defend the title she won last year in Cancun, Mexico. So this was the last news of the first part of 1 Week in Poland. Now we have a small musical break. I chose a song that I think it is in theme with the topic, with the news we are speaking today. It's Human, Rag and Bone Man. Stay with us, stay with IMI Radio after the musical break with the second part of 1 Week in Poland. Human rag and bone man, welcome back to the second part of 1 Week in Poland, the part of the broadcast dedicated to Warsaw. This is the part of the show where I give you some news, some advices about the capital city. I want to start with a news because I don't know, if you live here for a while, probably you know, but if you don't live, I will tell you. In November 11 is an important date in Poland, is the day of the independence, and every day is organized a march, because it's the Poland Independence Day, so it's organized the March of Independence. And every year there are debates about this rally, because in the past sometimes there were very unpleasant events during this march. There was the outbreak of some clashes, some violent clashes between nationalists against police, against municipal premises. So it's a very hot day. So what happened this week? The municipal authorities in Warsaw have refused the permission for this march on 11 November to go ahead this year. So it says that the organizers improperly submitted applications to register the rally. A spokesman for the event, which is organized by far-right groups but attracts tens of thousands of participants, many of whom are mainstream conservatives, has confirmed that they will appeal against the decision. The Interior Minister says he believes the march will eventually be able to go ahead. So on Monday, the City Hall announced that, so we are going into the details, announced that it had refused to grant a permit for the Independence March to take place, saying that the organizers submitted a series of applications for events that were each practically identical, apart from listing different starting dates. So it was reported by broadcaster TVN. Even though the march take place on November 11, each of the applications listed multiple days that the event would take place. The first, for example, was submitted on September 28, another on October 28, a third one on November 12. City Hall believes this was a tactic by the organizers to gain an advantage over other potential events that could take place in Warsaw on 11 November. It allowed the Independence March application to be made as early as possible, because such gatherings can only be registered a maximum of 30 days in advance. The municipal authorities also say that assessment by the police, fire and emergency medical services, as well as the public transport authority, found that the details outlined in the application for gatherings lasting up to 16 days would have a very negative impact on the functioning of the city. Following the city's announcement, a spokesman for the association that organizes the Independence March told the media that they would appeal against the decision, which violates the will of tens of thousands of patriots who want to celebrate the regaining of independence. This is the statement. The organizers have the right to file an appeal with the district court in Warsaw. In 2021, the city also sought to prevent the event from taking place and received the backing of courts for its decision, but it eventually went ahead anyway after the government, led by the National Conservative Law and Justice Party, intervened to make the march an official state event, thereby allowing it to take place. However, this year's Independence March is the first to take place since Law and Justice was removed from office last December and replaced by a more liberal ruling coalition led by Donald Tusk and his Civic Platform party. The mayor of Warsaw, Rafał Trzaskowski, is a deputy leader of Civic Platform. On Monday evening, Mariusz Błaszczak, head of Law and Justice Parliamentary Caucus, condemned Trzaskowski for the decision to refuse permission for the march. "No one will take away the right of Poles to celebrate Independence Day," posted on X Błaszczak. The march will go ahead regardless of Trzaskowski's prohibitions. In fact, Interior Minister Tomasz Siemioniak, the current Interior Minister, who is also from Civic Platform, likewise expressed his belief that the march should and in the end will go ahead. We have the freedom to demonstrate, let it pass in peace, Siemoniak told broadcaster TVP on Tuesday morning. It should happen on rational terms. I don't know why someone is planning it for 16 days, so I am confident that at the end of the day, this march will take place and no one will violate the right to demonstrate. But it is important that the organizers of the march make sure that everything takes place in peace, calm and without aggression, added the Interior Minister. In some previous years, the march has seen violent scenes, including attacks on property and police. However, at other times, it has passed peacefully. Last month, police raided and searched properties linked to the march as part of an investigation into suspected crimes committed during the event when it took place in 2018. And now we go to the part dedicated to the music suggestions, what to do during the weekend. I want to give two advices this week. First advice is the concert by Catching Flies today at Klub Hydrozagadzka in ulica 11 listopada, so November 11, speaking about civic address 22. Starting at 8 p.m., Catching Flies is a project of a multi-instrumentalist, producer and DJ George King, whose debut album Silver Linings received worldwide acclaim from media outlets such as Billboard, Guardian, Complex, known as ID Magazine, Dazed and Confused, and the line of Best Fit. The last album is Tides, so he's now headlining a tour across United Kingdom and Europe, and then he will move also to Asia, North America, as well with DJ sets at Bonomo, Outlier, series of events in Europe and North America, among others. So, if you want to listen, go to Klub Hydrozagadzka today, while tomorrow we have a coming back of Kasia Lins at Klub Jego, ulica Nowy Świat 21, starting 7 p.m. I'm speaking about coming back because after a 3-year break, Kasia Lins comes back with a new material, or rather, as he said in the presentation, a love crime story. Kasia Lins is a Polish singer. The album is called Omen, clearly seals the expressive style known to us, for example, from the previous album, My Guilt, while giving a sense of freshness in the approach to sound and arrangement. Kasia Lins is noticeable for the use of new means of expression, the minimization of the instrumental layer, and sometimes even vocal restraint. Using a metaphor, the artist creates impression about woman, her construction, mind, and corporality. The protagonist from the album, created from the rib of the private Kasia, is a woman with a sense of strength and agency, but sometimes also fear and anxiety. The whole story mesmerizes from the first to the last sound, leaving no one indifferent. So, today, opening gates at 7 p.m., the start of the concert 8 p.m., Klub Jego, go to listen Kasia Lins. This was the last advice for this week. I want to say thank you for staying with us, staying with IMI Radio. Please stay with us across the afternoon, because at 2 p.m. We have a shooting backstage with Natalie Che. I give you goodbye in 7 days with another episode of 1 Week in Poland. Now I leave you with a song, Kasia Lins, Koniec Świat. End of the world, but this is not the end of the world, it's just the end of the episode. Bye bye!
Proszę nie mów, że wysną z pust, że trwa tyle, ile krok i krzyk, żyje ile wdech i łyk. Proszę nie mów, że to już, że nim mrugnę, sprawdzę puls. Wytną nasze lasy, a my poddani, kwiaty wierne podeptane i moje prawdy uśpione. Ja nie mam serca do stworzeń, co to się karmią dramatem, a popijają cudzym płaczem i moje racje laickie. Ja nie mam serca do istnień, co to się żywią tragedią, a odurzają je swoją klęską. Proszę nie mów, że to już, że mam w ręce trzymać nóż, bo to stado pozbawione wahań, a to przecież znaczy, że to koniec tego świata. Wjeżdża mały ogień, wielki las podpala, ciemności kryją ziemię, ale jutro spadną deszcze, piekielne zło jeszcze, zatopią was plany, wasze plany grzeszne i moje prawa.